Girl, you the damn, and she love me when I'm in it, and she never be pretending. Nothing is friend. She gon' tell you what she bought it, cause she know you can't afford it. No, you can get.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eSpot with Camille. I am your host, Camille Cower, and I am so excited for you to meet my guest today. She is one of the other co-founders of the Kaleidoscope Project and an interior designer as well. And after speaking with so many of the designers and seeing all the pictures, wow, like, did you have any idea like how this would come out? Like, was this your goal when you originally started the Kaleidoscope Project?
You know, when I started the Kaleidoscope Project, there was, it was something that never existed. So there was no expectation. So every expectation has been met and beyond, I'm going to say, and the designers are all so amazing and did such an incredible job. And a lot of hard work that all came together to really make this an extremely special event that really, I think, is the most important thing I've done in the industry to date after 30 years.
Well, tell everyone a little bit about your 30-year history. I mean, I know we can't fit all of it in a small amount of time, but I'm just curious, how did you get your start and what encouraged you to even start the Kaleidoscope Project? So let's start back with, how did you get started in the world of interior design?
My mother was a designer. I always loved art and everything about art, and I always designed my own rooms at 10 years old. You know, I'm sure you've heard this story from designers all the time. I had pink and peach for mica furniture, and everything was round. And I made my mother have somebody make it, and she did.
Wow.
With touches of turquoise.
It sounds beautiful, but very much like you had to have a mom that was in the business to make that happen. That sounds hard to come by.
Absolutely. My mom had an art gallery for a while, and, my parents are very all about culture. I got very lucky, and they were very supportive. I was always doing art classes and going to museums, and I just am still and always was obsessed with art. And there was really no other place for me to be in the world. This was it. There was no plan B. I was going to find.
So you were lucky to have parents that were already in the industry, and they kind of encouraged that for you. So what was your path? Oh, your dad was not?
My dad was a CPA, so no.
Oh, so he knew how the bills were made.
But very supportive parents. Super lucky. Yeah.
So how did you go about getting your career started? Thankfully you did have supportive parents, but at the same time, you still have to make your own path. It's still one of those things where just because your family's in it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be successful. And you've been able to be in this industry for 30 years. So share a little bit about how that came about, or what even you think with 30 years, how you've been able to stay resilient in a business that's so, I guess you always have to stay on the cutting edge at the same time, but able to keep such a long career.
I think I technically started my career. My mom had already exited the career. So I had my daughter, Justine, who's now 29, and she was a few months old. And I moved from Manhattan to South Florida, Miami area. And I was like, what should I do with myself? I gave up my job in video production, actually. And, I was just thinking there's nowhere to shop here for kids' furniture. Like, everything's gross. There's no Madison Avenue. I had no money, but, there's still nowhere to shop. And so I opened a baby furniture store with no money and no husband. So I had a lot of tenacity, and I just said, I'm doing it, and there's no turning back. So that's what I did. And it grew into a full service retail furniture, at home furnishings, furniture, and design business.
Oh, wow.
And I did hundreds of homes, like an insane amount. We used to just churn them out.
Oh, how fun. Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you were a single mom and turned what you like, well, I guess some of the passions from growing up in the industry and was able to use that to kind of be able to balance both. Because so many times with women, it's so hard to balance motherhood and a career. And being that you were doing it as a single mom in a new area, like that's just a testament to your tenacity. And just even with the Kaleidoscope Project, again, you're taking on these big projects, these mammoth ideas, but you make it happen. So that speaks a lot to you as well. But so when you made that transition, I guess working first opening up your store, but then doing all these different homes, you noticed there was a need for it. So what was, what were some of the, oh, go ahead.
I was super lucky. I opened my stores 92-ish. Yeah, 92. And there was a housing boom in the Broward County area of South Florida. And they were building one cookie cutter development after another, which is huge now. Now it used to be like the, you know, the hot spot is now like, you know, not the hot spot anymore because it's so many years later. But so it just kind of caught on. I had a, you know, I guess a look that people wanted. And I was very easy, I think, to work with, because when I look at design, especially for somebody's home, I always look at it from a point of view that this has nothing to do with me. I'm facilitating a living area, a living space for somebody else to enjoy and love. And it has to be about them and not me. And, you know, with that approach, it just kind of made it really easy. I mapped onto like their style quickly, their needs. I was able to, you know, pull together something with pushing them a little bit outside the envelope and still giving them what they wanted just beyond their expectation. And the thing that was with the builders of these developments, these huge builders, they would pick out all their hard goods themselves. So we would just do paint, window treatments, art, and all the furniture. So floors, countertops, bathroom tiles, fixtures, all the hard goods were already done, which is why we were, and they were building these homes really fast. So, which is why we were able to do so much work.
Yeah, they were the Mac mansions back then, right?
Right, exactly. That's exactly what they were. You know, the 2 Lexuses and the $1 million man or whatever we call it. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so, you know, we would get everyone on the cul-de-sac, basically. It was the right time, the right place, a lot of good fortune. And, you know, and then, you know, resale, very hard. You know, after 16 years, I was done.
Okay. So after those 16 years, you had to do the great big, I mean, the word of the year, I guess, pivot. So how did that go about?
Well, the economy sort of helped with that, with the crash of the economy in 07, 08, especially South Florida. You know, South Florida is one of these places that has this really up and really downturns. Like, you know, it's either off the chart, everything's selling in a minute, or everything's in foreclosure. It has these really big ebbs and flows. And so when the economy really tanked, South Florida got hit very hard. And like I said, everybody was in foreclosure, so nobody was really spending money on furniture. I did continue designing for a while, but I closed my retail stores and just went actually and got a coaching certification. Took 18 months and got certified in coaching, business coaching, leadership coaching, and NLP, neuro-linguistics programming. And I really did that as a sort of self-discovery, new learning, new ways to communicate with people, just as something I needed to do for myself. Like, I felt like I was a little bit lost as a person. I was there. You know, Amy OTM, Amy Justine's mother, Amy somebody else. That was not, I was sort of like I needed to like identify with myself again. So that's what I did.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, and now I got to get out of Florida because I never loved living there, and I came back to the Northeast, and I couldn't be happier. I've been here, and it's really good. So I started a rep business here, and the Life Designs Group, and I have a hospitality boutique design business. So we do small boutique properties, inns, hotels, restaurants, one-off restaurants, preschools, different kinds of small boutique kind of commercial and hospitality projects. And I love it. It's really fun.
So speaking of projects, tell how the Kaleidoscope Project came about.
So the Kaleidoscope Project came about. I was a board chair for a small theater company, the Berkshire Playwrights Lab. And after the horrifying murder of George Floyd, one of our board members wrote a letter to the board, an email, and our 4 artistic directors, 2 of which are African American. And he wrote this in all innocence, I'm going to say, or lack of knowledge or thought. And he basically said that James Tyler, very, 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 very well-known, amazing playwright, and Felicia Bradford should speak out on behalf of Black people in the theater industry. So James, very eloquently, because he's a playwright, wrote this beautiful letter in return to the board, basically saying, we've been yelling about this shit for years. It's time our white friends stood up and said something and opened their mouths. And that was kind of the slap in the face that sitting in front of a TV crying, sitting in front of a TV yelling, doing nothing but complaining and going on an occasional women's march, or it just wasn't enough anymore. Turning your cheek the other way just wasn't going to cut it. And I got to take a very long, hard look at the industry I've lived in all these years and acknowledge, because it wasn't unnoticed, it just wasn't acknowledged, the very lack of diversity and equality within our industry. And that's when I decided to call Patty. And we had a very heart-to-heart conversation. And we birthed the Kaleidoscope Project to try and bring attention to voices not heard enough in our industry.
And so, yeah, I would say so. You guys have been definitely, I mean, I would say it was more than just a drum or moving the needle, because first of all, the Kaleidoscope Project is amazing that you guys brought in all these 23 different designers from different cultural backgrounds, as well as different areas all over the country, brought them together to take over or make over this and how you went about finding the different designers to be a part of this team. And like, it's just so much that you guys had to undertake, and you did it during the pandemic as well, as if that wasn't challenge enough. So share a little bit about that.
The property kind of landed in my lap a little bit. There was multiple discussions with the proprietor, or the person that was purchasing this property and planning on a redo. And eventually we came to an agreement for the inn to be the vessel for the Kaleidoscope Project. Of course, Patty and I both reached out to designer friends of ours that we already knew and said, you have to be part of this project. I called Rio and David and Virginia and like anyone else I knew on the planet. And then it just happened organically. It really did. I kept telling Patty, like, it started to get stressful. Like, oh my God, we have 2 more rooms. What are we going to do? I'm like, don't worry, we just won't do those. Like, I knew in my head, like, it would just come together, And it did. It just happened organically. I found the Austin Gray Group on Instagram. I was following them. I just love their business concept. There's so many things about them. I just so incredibly cool and different. And their design is so cool, as you can see in their room, Lady Sicily. And yeah, and it just happened organically that way. And got to meet a lot of new designers that I didn't know before. And literally some I just completely cold called, said, you know, I know your work. I follow you on Instagram. I think you're fabulous. So you're interested in doing this project. And, you know, we were very conscious about the level of talent we were seeking and, you know, talents that were very diverse within the art form, as well as their backgrounds, where they live in the country, and all those other things. Like, we wanted a diverse group of artists, basically, but not have it and look like hodgepodge. And they brought it. They all knocked it out of the park. It really is.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hodgepodge lodge at all. It's absolutely stunning. Yeah. So when you finally got to see it, the finished project, and unveiled it to everyone, and it had a media day, and over 35 different publications came out to visit, all the way out to the Berkshires. How did that feel, seeing your dream come to fruition, and not only fruition, but to get so much support from the industry as well?
I became very proud to be a part of this industry. The industry really did rally around us and step up, and I'm still getting calls and emails saying, what are you doing next? We want to be a part of it. Because, you know, we did everything in like 4 months. It was a fast train. The way I felt when it all, like, I didn't get to really, I'm going to say, relish in it until it was really finished, because there was just still so many details, and I was on property almost every single day. Like,
now that's what everyone's telling me. And when you're saying the fast train, I'm like, not just a fast train, it's a fast train. You're building the tracks and the train while it's going. So you had a lot going on, and helping with the interns, and correspondence between virtual and time zones. And I mean, a lot of the designers were singing your praises, but at the same time, I could understand why you weren't being able to relish in it, just so the audience has an idea of how much you were undertaking as part of this project as well.
It was a really big undertaking. I won't fib, because if anyone else wants to undertake this and needs any, you know, real information, I'm happy to support them with that. And I, you know, so many of our things in our industry now, like, are a little bit skewed as far as, oh, you can renovate a kitchen in 2 days with 20 grand. And, you know, that's not true. So, I, you know, from a realistic point of view, it really was crazy to get this done. It was actually 30 bathrooms in 3 months, ripped out, completely done. All different.
And the before and afters are so significantly different on the spectrum. Just, I mean, it's an 1800s. I always mess up the numbers. 1700s. It was originally built, and then the other parts of the house was 1800s. So, like, very old home. And then on top of all of that, like, there were some limitations as far as what you were able to do with construction and so on, and like with electrical and so on. But then a lot of these different designers weren't there until install day. So you had the pressure of making sure everything that they were zooming in to see came out exactly like that. So there was a lot of pressure on you, but it's so beautiful. Like, I'm excited for everyone to see and hear, and also hear from all the different designers, their journey in creating all of this, but also the people behind the dream of the Kaleidoscope Project to get their shine as well, and all the different sponsors that were involved, because you did have a lot of support, even on that side as well, and the different trades that were involved.
We had 40 sponsors.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a tremendous amount of work, getting the sponsors, getting the designers, the trade, the product, tile. I was on a tile month where it's just like, all right, your tile are available. You tell me one of these 3 has to work, because I need the tile like tomorrow. So yeah, there was a lot of pressure, and I know you know, the designers are really great about all of it. I know some of them were disappointed about certain things along the way. I'm like, sorry, but it's going to be great. And it really did turn out exactly the way it was supposed to. And, you know, these are all highly professional, very, very, very well-versed designers and are used to dealing with challenging issues on a regular basis. And yes, of course, the inn itself, built, as you said, 1776 to the mid-1800s. There are 3 separate buildings, 2 of which house the Kaleidoscope Project. Had its challenges within itself. I mean, there was just layers and layers and layers of wallpaper. Like, the walls were just like crumbling around us, trying to get all this layers and decades of wallpaper off. I said we took a lot of wallpaper off and we put a lot of wallpaper up. six wallpaper hangers on property, all local, all from the area. And,
oh, that's great too.
Yes, so we supported the community, we had a phenomenal GC, Aaron Roca from Ridgeline Builders, and they're working on my house now. And we have phenomenal crew. Definitely challenges with the proprietor, very limited budget. You know, construction budgets tend to escalate pretty quickly. And, you know, so for those reasons and permit reasons, we couldn't move any of the plumbing. We couldn't add additional electrical fixtures in places there wasn't electric. You know, time constraints, money constraints, permit constraints.
And it's a pandemic, so things are getting shut down and closed, and the furniture was hard to come by. There was furloughs. Yeah,
exactly. We had 1 electrician.
Oh,
and he's great, but like, and he
there's only one,
brought someone with him, but you just couldn't get anybody else. So there were so many varied issues, you know, and delayed in getting lighting fixtures, and they ordered the wrong lighting fixtures, and you know, but you know,
but you guys made it
all
work.
Complaining aside, you know what, they're not untypical issues in the industry. So I think the designers really understood for the most part that this stuff happens, and they're really so talented and so clever that they were able to roll with it and, you know, switch gears pretty quickly. And I'm pretty sure that they're all really pleased.
Oh no, everyone I spoke with was very happy, very excited. And I want to make sure that everyone knows how they can keep up with the Kaleidoscope Project as well as with you. So if you could share how everyone can keep up and find out more.
So the kaleidoscopeproject.com, our website, is the best place. And follow us on Instagram, _Kaleidoscope Project. And our email is hello@thekaleidoscopeproject.com. Email me anytime. We love to keep bringing more people in the circle of the Kaleidoscope Project. We are already working very hard on our next initiative, which is not a show house. That will happen probably April 2022. And we'll be able to talk about that soon. Hopefully in Dallas, we can announce that project, which would be really fun to do. We're working on it.
Oh, how exciting. Well, I love it. Well, thanks again for being my guest today. And everyone, if you get the chance, please check out the Kaleidoscope Project's Instagram page, or just go ahead and book a room at the inn and just go through all of the rooms one by one. All right. Well, thanks again. And tune in for more information about the eSpot with Camille by checking out CamilleCower.com. Thanks again for watching.
Camille.
Oh, it was my pleasure.